Hello and welcome to the second episode of We Are All Hostages, and I'm speaking with Zahiro, one of the hostage family members from the Begging Gate today. And so, Zahiro, introduce yourself if you can.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Luke. My name is Zahiro Shachar Mor. I'm one of the family members of the. Now it's not considered a hostage anymore. Anyway, my father's younger brother, Abraham, together with his family, was hit on October 7th. My cousin, their only son, Roy, was 50 years old, was murdered. My uncle was taken to Gaza. My auntie, my cousin, and their only grandson were also taken to Gaza and were released on the first day of the hostage exchange scheme. After 49 days in captivity, Abraham stayed for any time between 4 to 6 months. And a month ago, 4 weeks ago, his body was recovered. We know that he was alive until anywhere between February and April. So he survived anywhere between 4 and 6 months in captivity. He was 79 years old. He had some preconditions. We were worried sick for the time, but for the last month, this has ended for us. Yeah,
But
as
so,
I said, three family members came back after 49 days in captivity.
Zahiro, since you're there at the Begging Gate nearly every night, basically continue to protest for a deal for the remaining families. And so tell us what is happening in Israel right now.
Other than the hostage situation, which I will get into in a few minutes, there is a complete washout. They're completely trying to change the framing of everything that happened on October 7th and ever since. The hostage families are under attack on social media and on news channels by many of the regime psychopaths. Um, and basically, we are portrayed as anyone who has anything to say against the official line of the government. We are, 2 inches away from complete victory, just one more push, and anyone who criticizes this is considered an enemy of the state. And things are turning pretty fascist lately.
Yeah.
The police are brutalizing one side of the demonstration. They don't touch the other side. They don't touch right-wing demonstrators at all. On the other hand, a woman who was mistakenly accused of throwing sand at the beach in the direction of one of the ministers got arrested for 3 days. So it's complete BS over here. The judicial system, the police are completely taken over. And this is what happens when you have someone deeply corrupted in charge of all the systems in the state for 15 years. He corrupted the police completely. And right now, I'd say most of the law-abiding people in Israel fear the police. Fear the police. The police is using brutal tactics against the demonstrations, so people won't get to the streets. And it is harming our call, of course, because people are afraid.
Yeah, and I think I saw was it a couple weeks ago where Natalie, Inav's daughter, was ran over, who
By
had
horse,
a horse, and she
by
has her
horse.
brother, who's literally held in Gaza, a
Correct,
hostage, and she
correct,
was run over by a horse.
correct. By a police horse, not just any horse. The police horse wasn't doing it, out of curiosity. He was instructed to do so by his
Has any consequences happened to that policeman?
No, none whatsoever, none whatsoever. There are so many cases of police brutality lately in Israel. Nothing happens to the attacking police men. They're always men. They're always men. And by the way, they mostly attack women. This is another thing. You know, the police target small women and just it's horrible. There are so many cases. You can go on social media. There are so many cases. None of the complaints against these policemen will ever get any serious consideration. Uh, the minister in charge of the police, the well-known terrorist Itamar Ben-Gvir, he is a convicted felon, and his felony was inflicting terror. Okay, so I'm not just saying. Uh, he had a public announcement saying that any policeman that will be caught brutalizing left-wing demonstrators will get a citation from him. Will get a promotion from him. Okay, the way to get a promotion in Israeli police now is to be aggressive toward people asking for the lives of their loved ones in Gaza. Okay, and this is an official statement by the minister in charge of the police. So this is the situation in Israel.
And it also feels like, because the protests, they've really grown also over the past weeks too. Like I've seen hundreds of thousands of people are out on the
Correct,
streets now.
correct.
And it feels like, from what we're seeing, from the West, right, that Netanyahu is not listening to the citizens of Israel. Like he's not budging on
No,
anything.
he doesn't care. He has his own inner circle of three, four family members that just, inflame him more and more. And this is becoming ludicrous. There's transcripts of talks between the prime minister and the prime minister's wife and the prime minister's family members, like his son and other people, that you just read the transcript and see that they are living in a totally different society, reality.
Where do you see it? This is interesting. Where do you see kind of Israel heading right now with how bad the government has become? Like the future.
Israel has no future. Has no future. I was saying this for a couple of times for the last couple of months. There won't be two elections in Israel. There will be only the next one. The one after it will not be in the same format that we are seeing now. There is no way. Israel as a state has to change, like a complete phase change, not just a minor corrections. And it's not there yet. In order to start rebuilding the new Israel, you need first to heal from the inflicted pains of the last year, and I can't see it happening right now. So, look, the way I see it, Israel is heading for a regional war. It's been doing its best to do so, to change. Now it's officially changing the focus to the northern theater, to the Hezbollah and in Lebanon theater, and puts Gaza on ice for a few, I don't know, weeks, months. The hostages have no time, of course, but this is the way the Israel government sees fit to conduct its war right now. And basically what they're doing is perpetual war. a war that will continue to go on. Let me remind you, it has been a year almost since October 7th. The chief of the IDF is still in office. The prime minister is still in office. The ministry of defense is still in office. No one took responsibility for the greatest catastrophe in Israel history. Just for Israel lost 1,400 people on a single day. This is the same number as the annual average American loss during the Afghanistan campaign. Think about it. A full year for America was lost in a single day. And Israel is, America is 30 times larger in terms of population than Israel, of course. Okay, so think about it. The loss, the hit was immense, immense. People are not grasping the full scale of the catastrophe yet because the government is trying its best to minimize the events on October 7th and to maximize the so-called wins or gains in Gaza ever since. Now, again, think about it like this. Up till 1 month ago, we believed that my uncle was alive in Gaza, and he is being locked in some rat hole 55 kilometers from where I'm sitting. Israel has the strongest army in the Middle East, so they say. 55 kilometers away for a full year, they couldn't retrieve him. And Israel has cannons and submarines and F-15 and F-117 and F-35s and artillery and tanks. And the terrorists on the other side have AK-47 and a World War II era RPG. And still, the greatest military in the Middle East can't retrieve 101 hostages that are believed to be held right now, alive or dead, 55 kilometers from Tel Aviv. Okay, from Tel Aviv.
What do you think? What do you think would happen if, or how would Israel feel like if there is no hostage deals, the hostages don't come back? Like
there will be no Israel, and I told this to several people on interviews and on the Knesset. I told this to several MPs. If you won't bring the hostage, if the hostages will not be brought back, your grandkids would not want to live in Israel. And I was, your kids would not want to live in Israel, but I don't know, maybe your kid is already 30 years old. But the younger generation would never choose to live here. This is a place where if some terrorist organization kidnaps you, they forsake you. This is the ethos that will continue to linger on. This is the Netanyahu's ethos. It is unbelievable that the Jewish people got this leader. So you can't call him leader, yeah? Leader in these dire times. Instead of someone who can, lift the spirit of the people and lead them from catastrophe to growth. We got someone who is willingly and shamelessly chooses only 1/3 of the people and doesn't care about the other 2/3, which are the majority. Okay, he doesn't count them. We were, I think, police estimation were almost 500,000 people.
Yeah,
on the streets. He doesn't care.
I think that was just Tel Aviv too. I think Israel.
Yeah.
It was close to 1 million. It was.
Yeah. Think about 10% of the population is out on the streets, and Nothing. And the main media outlets are to blame, just as just as well, of course, because they are showing, reality shows and you know, opium to the masses.
If you, let's put it this way, if you were leading the American negotiating team, right, and you were American, you had a decision over how to make Netanyahu do a hostage deal, what would you do if you?
Had I been the president of the United States, I would go. I would go personally if I can, you know, to the Middle East, get Netanyahu in one ear, get the other side in one ear, and put them together with me in a single room to the negotiation table. And before that, I would come to the Middle East and say, guys, nobody is shooting anyone, anyone. If anyone shoots, the American will shoot him. Nobody shoots anyone starting now for 6 months, 12 months. I don't care. We're gonna give everyone all the defensive mechanism available, none of the offensive. And if anyone will shoot a single bomb, we will kill him. This is what I would do. Okay, I know about the American military industrial complex, and it's, the wheels that are in motion to sell bombs. It's a very large, it's a very significant moving force, driving force. But again, don't arm Israel. The bombs that probably killed my uncle were manufactured in America. Okay, an American bomb killed my uncle. Okay, it's not 100%. There are two options that we still don't know with how he died. But on the tunnel where his body was recovered, there were two dead guards. They weren't shot. Okay, on the same space. There were 6 hostage bodies and 2 terrorist bodies, and they weren't shot. How did they die? One of the best option right now, the most logical option, is a thing that already happened. One of the bombs that America gives to Israel has this residue of CO gas that is being released as a byproduct of the bombing. This is a bunker penetrating bomb, and it has this trail of CO. And we know for a fact, even the IDF admits that Ron Sherman, Sergeant Ron Sherman, was killed this way in a tunnel from inhaling CO gas that was the residue of an American bomb. And we think that my uncle could have ended his life the same way. We don't know. We are waiting for the forensic report. Of course, it has been a month and we haven't seen a credible forensic report. We just hear from soldiers that he was found with a gunshot to his hip. Okay, things like this. I want to see an official report that did what was the cause of death. This is one of the crucial parts in the forensic report. Everything is controlled by the government. We don't trust the IDF. We don't trust the forensic reports. Dr. Mayan Sherman looked for she fought to find out the truth about her son's death. She fought for 4 months. Now she got what she wanted. The IDF admitted that it was CO gas that killed Ron and not the terrorists.
And I mean, I think that's a lot of that things in the media. It's just kind of staying in Israel. It's not being pushed out so much to the West. It isn't very much, and we also have a
One of one of the things that I want to emphasize is that it's very easy for someone on the outside to look at something as monolithic. Okay, Israeli society is green. Israeli society is beige. Okay? No, Israel has many facets and many currents and undercurrents, and religious people and non-religious people, and Arab Muslim and Arab Christians and Bedouins and Druze and so many other, ways to identify yourself. And what I want to emphasize is that there is a rupture, there is a rift between two parties, two opposing parties. On one side, there is the government, there is the regime, there is the police, there is a lot of parts of the IDF is also over there. Okay, on the other side, there are, I'll call it, the vast majority of people who just want to live peacefully and raise their children without any perpetual ongoing war around. Okay? And it's very important to understand that we are the vast majority. Although our voice is seldomly heard in outside of Israel because of these mechanism that Benjamin Netanyahu and his administration has put, has erected into the, the media and the, just a week ago he himself published fake information and gave it to two newspapers. One was the Bild, the German Bild, and the second was the Jewish Chronicle. It was completely fake. It was completely bogus, but it served his principle. It served his interest. So Benjamin Netanyahu did this, and it's shameful, and it's waging a psychological war against your own people. Okay, the article said that there is a risk that if the IDF won't control Philadelphia corridor, that the hostages will be smuggled out to Iran. Now this is complete BS. This was not an official paper. This was a fabricated paper, but still, Israel released it to the Bild and the Jewish Chronicle, and I heard that some of the writers in the Bild and in the Jewish Chronicle quit their jobs because of
Yeah.
this. Yeah, this is the Israeli government normal day-to-day practices against us, against the vast majority who wants peace. That's it. And we still want peace. And I do believe that on the other side, the picture is pretty much the same. One third of which are fundamentalist and plainly saying not really good at looking at the consequences of what they're doing. Okay, versus 2/3 of people that want to raise their children in peace. Now, the only reason that Israel is getting so much support in recent decades, it has been waning away, of course, but in recent decades, Israel is getting a lot of support from European countries and from America, of course. How so? Why is that? Because Israel is liberal, is a democracy, is, human rights is a virtue here. Okay, one of the core principles. Okay, now Israel has been running away from this position for the past 2 or 3 years. Like really running away with the
Yeah.
judicial reform and all that right wing BS. Okay, and I'm not sure the European countries would want to help a tribal Israel. And Israel is going tribal, is going primitive, is going fundamentalist. And there will be, if one tribe is fighting another tribe out there in the Middle East, nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a damn. Okay, if a tribe of barbaristic terrorists are attacking a democracy in the Middle East, then maybe we should do something to help this democracy. But Israel is playing the card of the democracy for too long, and I say without any justification. If you look at what Israel is doing for the past years in terms of the judicial reform, it's been trying to run away from human right, a liberal democracy, with checks and balances, and concentrate all the power around a single person. And I think you need to see the horror of it to understand that it's not something you read about in papers. It's something that the prime minister is appointing the chairman of the main media outlets. This is considered normal in Israel. Okay, the IDF is shooting people waving white flags, and it's been normalized. We know this because on one of the occasions, the people that got shot waving white flags were escaped hostages, 3 escaped hostages that tragically the IDF killed. They were waving white flags and got killed. And this wasn't the only case that the IDF shoots at people waving white flags. So Israel is running away from any, seemingly humane ways of conduct, and running away pretty fast. And it's this is the true catastrophe. This is far worse than October 7th. The way it sabotaged Israel's society and made the Israeli actions revolve around revenge and not around solution finding. I think this is beyond forgiveness, really.
So there's one thing we just want to speak about, because I remember before we knew each other, right? One of the first times I had seen you was on video when you announced pretty much that you were it's when you have basically said that you had been flown all over the world. You had pretty much towards pushing for a deal, all those things, and enough is enough, nothing is working. You decided to join, I think, forces with protesters, but that's one of the first times which I saw you. I'd like you to speak about a moment and what made you, even if it's months ago, what made you kind of realize, what was kind of the start of realization?
Actually, for me, I saw what's happening on day one, on October 7th. On October 8th, you could have found me near the main military
Begging Gate.
headquarters, not in Begin Gate, in another gate. I was shouting, Bibi is a murderer. And I was shouting, my slogan was, the criminals of Nir Oz should be prosecuted. In Hebrew, it sounds a lot better. Posh'ei Nir Oz Ledin. Because Nir Oz was abandoned. Did you know that, just a quick word about Nir Oz. Nir Oz, the first IDF soldier who entered Nir Oz did it 1 hour after the last terrorist left Nir Oz. There wasn't a fight in Nir Oz. Nobody sent any soldiers to rescue a full community of 400 people. Out of these 400 people, 105 either got killed or kidnapped. 25% of the community either got killed or kidnapped in a single day. Now, this is a 400 people community. Everybody knows everyone. Everyone's kid learned with everyone. And this is only one story out of several stories of the kibbutzim near the Gaza Strip on October 7th. There wasn't a fight on Nir Oz. Nir Oz was taken without a fight. There was 4 pistols, okay, guarding, the local guarding unit. 4 people without, without guns, without long guns, no M16. 4 people with pistols against, 200, 300, 400 heavily armed terrorists. So,
how long did it take for the IDF? Because I've heard stories where I don't know if it's exactly that amount, but I've heard stories where the IDF took like maybe 8 hours to arrive.
The IDF got to Nir Oz 2 p.m. 2 p.m. The attack started at 2 p.m. Yeah, 2 p.m.
How long does it take to get to Nir Oz from Tel Aviv?
From Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
Driving?
Yeah.
75 minutes. From Tel Aviv. Nobody drives a tank from Tel Aviv.
Yeah.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How long would it take for an Apache AH-64 attack helicopter to go from his base in Palmachim, which is near Tel Aviv to the south, to drive this 50 miles to Nir Oz from his base for an Apache helicopter?
30 minutes, an hour, maybe?
No, 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
Sorry to use my language, but
why? There wasn't a single battalion, an artillery battalion. There wasn't a single battalion to bomb the hell out of the border. Once it started, what artillery does. I was an officer. God forgive me, but I was an officer, and there's artillery barrage, and what you do is you make everyone in a space, the space where you shoot. You make everyone duck and hide in the covers because the fire is so immense. Had the IDF done this 7 a.m., 8 a.m., even 9 a.m. in the morning, okay, no one would cross the border.
What?
And that's a single battalion capacity. That's the capacity of a single battalion of artillery. Okay, the IDF has, I don't want to say the actual number, but more than 30 of these. No one guarded the Oz.
Why? I mean, we can't know until. Well, actually, I remember, wasn't there like a citizen investigation on October 7th because the government has refused to open up one, right?
Of course. And they've been changing protocols. We know for a fact that protocols have been changed and records have been erased. They are doing the best to, history is written by the winners. So they do their best to win this battle and to rewrite history. And actually, Israel it had some rewritings of history along the rightward wash off that Israel is undergoing for the past 30 or 40 years. Okay, a lot of history was rewritten. Okay, a lot of things that I remember for a fact that this was the cause, this was the effect. They portray everything, just the effect without the cause. So it looks completely different when you look at it. There's only what the other side did. There's never what we did. Okay, and so there's no cause and effect, and they're just like, they're Nazis, they're animals, they're microbes, they're murderous. It's in their nature. So the dehumanization of the enemy is very easy because you rewrite the history. You don't say anything about what your side did. And this is the way history is being taught, and this is the way the average Israeli person believes that his country is conducting, and this is so far from the truth that this kind of catastrophe are happening because of this.
So a lot of people in the West, they use an excuse where they don't want a hostage deal is because they basically say that if Hamas isn't completely eliminated, well, when Hamas is an ideology, October 7th will happen again, pretty much. What would you have in response to people like that who say, if we don't finish the war completely and completely eradicate Hamas, the October 7th will happen again? What's your response to those people?
What they're saying is, let's sacrifice the lives of the current people, of the current victims, so there won't be any future victims. Is that what they are saying?
Yes, basically what they're saying, yeah.
So this is bullshit logic. Okay, there are people that need to be saved right now. You can't think about, you don't know what will happen. You are not a prophet.
Yeah.
And you're just using what you think is the probable outcome, just using it to promote your agenda. I would say to people who say these kind of things, I would say, man, you lost your way. You really, really lost it. You should go back to your mom and let her teach you some, common courtesy.
Well, that is one thing which doesn't make, how can I say, which defeats a lot of logic. So Israel, how it's promoted in the West, it's a safe haven for the Jewish people, right? But the way in which the entire world has seen it right now is the government has completely abandoned its people. So how
Correct.
can it make sense?
Correct.
Because there's even like a lot of, what's funny,
Yeah.
in the West, they still do a lot of Aliyah ads, pretty much. Come immigrate to Israel, all those things, pretty much.
But
Wow.
nobody counts the negative aliyah that are taking place. And I can say for a fact that people around me see no future in Israel. Everyone in Israel, everyone who can approach these kind of things is looking for a second passport. Most of the people in Israel got a second passport for the past 20 years. They don't trust the government of Israel to be here or to be a safe haven for people. And this is a fact. This is not something that you can, people are rushing to get second passports. The number of people leaving Israel for the past year is a complete secret. Nobody knows, and nobody wants to talk about it because I think the number is mind-boggling, and it will continue. I can't see a future in Israel unless even if the hostages come back all in one piece, glory, glory, hallelujah, tomorrow. I'm not sure that my interpretation of a good place to raise my children will include Israel, notwithstanding the Jewish issue.
Yeah.
Living in America I can live in America, I can live in different places of the world, I can live in Europe. The state of Israel is finished, is dead. It died many, many years ago, but it was buried on October 7th, officially and unless something better will arise from the ashes of the catastrophe that we are living in, there is no future for my kids. Maybe, maybe next generation will have something, but for my kids, I will recommend very warm-heartedly for them to seek their future elsewhere. And
And
it's not only me. Yeah.
what would you say basically to the diaspora who say would want to help Israel and actually save it? Like, what would you tell them to
Helping
do?
Israel, helping Israel is opposing the Israeli government right now. The Israeli government has waged war against its own people for the past month. And the sooner any person will understand it, the better he will understand what's going on in Israel right now. Don't fall for Benjamin Netanyahu's seemingly victorious rhetoric. Israel is losing. It has been losing. It can't even get 101 people from 50 miles away from Tel Aviv. Okay? Israel is losing big time. There is a big facade that we are 2 inches away from a complete win, which is complete BS. And if you want to believe it, you will stay in this level of understanding the reality for the rest of your life. If you want to really help the Jewish people, if you want to really help the people of Israel as a whole, not only the Jewish people part of it, if you want to help them, oppose the government. Write down to your representative and ask him to pressurize the administration to stop sending bombs to Israel. Give it every defense mechanism available on this planet, but no offensive munitions. Stop this bombing campaign. Gaza is a mess. Gaza is neighborhoods have been completely wiped out. The devastation there is going to take generations to overcome. The Palestinian people has suffered a second Nakba since October 7th. There is still a lot of things to process. And for them to be processed, a ceasefire must start as soon as possible. And the later that the ceasefire will start, the more families and the more people will get inside the circle of violence and pain and hurt. Eventually, look, there are, in this area, in this region between the sea and the Jordan River, okay, there's like, I don't know for a fact, nobody knows for a fact, but let's say anywhere between 5 to 8 million Jews and 5 to 8 million Palestinians. Now, you can think about this in one out of two ways. Either you think that one of the groups, Group A or Group B, that 5 to 8 million people will disappear somehow, migrate, die, fall to the sea, go to Mars, I don't know. If you think there is a possibility that one group consisting of 5 to 8 million people will just disappear and the other group will stay in the same area alone, then congratulations, you're a fundamentalist, and our conversation will not be fruitful in any way. But if you think that in the long run, some of the 5 to 8 million from each group will stay and will have to learn to live together, then better sooner rather than later, and better, where the death toll is still here and not let it rise. Okay, the more it rises, the more difficult it is to get to the place where, I can hardly utter this word out of my mouth, but peace. Okay, okay. Let's not talk about peace. That ceasefire,
Yeah.
some way of coexistence. Okay, non-violent coexistence, and it can be done. When I was a kid, when I was visiting my uncle Abraham in Kibbutz Nir Oz, sometimes we would go to Gaza to buy stuff
Oh,
in the
really?
shop. Yeah, it was completely, you could, there was no fence even. I remember because in Gaza they had things that you couldn't find in Israel. They had Fanta. And back then there was only Coca-Cola in Israel. And I was like, take me to Gaza. I want to drink Fanta, as a kid. I really liked going to Gaza because they had this over there in the shops. Okay. And this for the past 35 or 40 years been going steadily rightwards. Situation, like after a few years, it wasn't so safe to go to Gaza alone. After a few years, they made a fence, and after a few years, they made a guard post, and after a few years, there were some incidents, and it's been, spiraling out of control, spiraling out of control. What Israel is doing right now in Gaza is not showing any self-control at all. It's on a rampage of revenge. It's like Israel is like a 9-year-old kid who got a kick in the groin, and he's not just throwing punches all over. He doesn't care who he hits. It's been going on for a full year, and the amount of suffering on the Gazan side is immense. Is immense,
Yeah. And,
and we have to address this thing too, this issue too. Israel is completely, you say, puts it in its blind spot.
yeah.
We know that there is devastation in Gaza, but actually we're kind of happy about it, so let's not talk about it too much. And it, again, Israel is not only a 9-year-old who got a kick in the groin. Israel is, as a state, if you would think about Israel as a state, it's still in trauma. It hadn't passed the trauma, and Benjamin Netanyahu is keeping Israel inside the trauma. It's not ending the war. This is part of his scheme to keep Israel as a state in this state of trauma. There's always war. There's always something to. There's always the next thing that will give us the complete victory. First it's Gaza, then it's Rafah, then it's Philadelphia corridor. The next thing it will be Beirut. Then it will be Tehran. There's always something to conquer. There's always an enemy behind the door.
And so Israel, the government has, because October 7th is coming up really soon, so a year since October 7th. And
Yeah,
so I saw that, well, so hostage families are basically boycotting the government event. And if you could speak more about what's going on there, like what the government has planned and what the
it's
hostage
a
families
mess.
do.
It's a mess. Look, another thing that is very important for people outside of Israel to understand that what is going on right now is a complete robbery of the public funds by the right wing extremists. Complete robbery. And this is part of it. They will have a nice budget, and they will, it's a ceremony, so they will have a lot of people involved, lighting and sound, and they will all be people that are, from the right side. And this is one of the ways the government is helping the people who support the government. That's it. Nobody's going to watch this. Nobody. It's just a money thingy. That's it. And you can see, if you read Israeli headlines. The Knesset, the Israeli parliament, is busy every day putting more and more laws and more budgets towards the right wing. Completely unshameful.
Well, Smotrich, isn't he like, well, he's finance minister, right? A settler is literally the
Yeah,
finance minister.
correct.
He is. And then you have a terrorist who's head of the police. You do. It's
And you have a criminal running the government and deciding alone, by the way, and without any jurisdiction, without any, he doesn't have authority to go to declare war alone. He needs his government approval, and he doesn't care. It's a complete uh, uh, washing off from every civil uh, constraint. You just do what he does. Just does what he wants. That's it. If you
so,
want to control the channel 12, you appoint a new chairman to channel 12, which is one of your sycophants, and there are many sycophants, unfortunately, because many people just want money. As I said about the ceremony for October 7th, it's a completely money thing. That's it, from A to Z. Nobody cares about it. Miri Regev, the minister in charge of it, doesn't care about it. She likes ceremonies because ceremonies is a way to distribute money to the people she wants. That's it. And she's the minister of ceremonies, among her other, I don't know what her other duties are, other than distributing poison.
for Americans, right, who actually want to know properly the truth which is happening in Israel, where would you say they can find that information which isn't propaganda? Is there any specific like newspapers maybe which are better than others, or
In Israel, Israeli media,
well, just for Americans, so Americans who want to find out the truth of everything that's happening, where would you direct them, or where would you tell them to look?
I don't know. When I want to hear an unbiased opinion, I read several outlets, and I do mostly European. I do the BBC, I do the DW, Deutsche Welle, and I do CNN. I don't do Fox. I do MSNBC,
Yeah.
the American. I don't need to do Fox. I know what Fox. I get my Fox clips from Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert. So, so I do get some of Fox
Well, Fox even
opinions.
the propaganda Netanyahu did, which was in the Jewish Chronicle and the Build, it ended up on Fox News too. It did in America, like.
Yeah, sure. And is there still America One, AOL?
Oh yes, yes, one of America. Yes, they're still around, but they're everyone knows their propaganda networks, and no one really like takes them that seriously.
Same as Fox, right? In a way, only
Fox
smaller.
Fox is less bad than the other network. It is.
Yeah, yeah, sure, for sure.
Yeah, other network is incredibly bad because Fox still does have some reporters who are actually good. It's
Yeah, yeah, correct.
they do because I
It,
forgot his name, but
it's
there's
fun to, it's nice to make fun out of Fox, but there's still, as you said, they're not as bad as the other guys are in the neighborhood.
well, how bad I actually because this would be interesting for American viewers. Like, what's your equivalent to Fox OAN, and how bad is it in
Ah,
Israel?
14, channel 14. Even for Fox News, even let's say even what was his name? The guy that got fired from from Fox. Come on,
Oh, Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Even Tucker Carlson could learn a trick or two from the anchors of Channel 14. They are really, like in America, even if you do something, completely absurd, there is still a guise of 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 civility. You're not a you, you're not doing this as I want to say this word as a as less offensive as possible. You're not doing this as a
Hugely
redneck,
offensive.
okay? You're not doing this as a redneck. In Channel 14, the anchors are rednecks, the equivalent of rednecks, okay? And, and I mean rednecks in means that they have no education at all. Tucker Carlson is educated, and they are completely lacking any moral constraints, okay? And so they are the equivalent, but still, Tucker Carlson can learn a trick or two from them, really. They can really Tucker Carlson.
Since you guys are basically protesting non-stop in Israel, I mean, where do you see the protests kind of going or continue? Do you think they're going to continue to grow? Like, what do you think is going to happen after October 7th, once it would have passed a year, if you were to
I don't
guess?
know. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, Look, so many things have happened that before they happened, I thought, wow, if this kind of thing will happen, then, everyone will go to the streets. And it happened, and people weren't getting to the streets, and it happened again, and some more, and more people died. And the government BS was more visible, and still people are not coming out in masses. Now it had changed in the past 3 weeks, because we are getting near. And I can tell you for a fact that the 100th day, passing the 100th day mark made a lot of families go to our side. Okay, family members that were, reluctant to criticize the government in the first 100 days. After 100 days, they came out more strongly. Okay, not strongly enough in some cases, but everyone was getting radicalized after the 100th days mark. And I think a similar thing will happen on the 1 year mark. Uh, I hope, I hope I hope the war will stop. I hope Israel will choose a different path and not continue to wage war against everywhere, throwing punches around. And I hope there will be enough people on the streets to help the Israeli government to, and this government is beyond help, to change the Israeli leadership in a way that will get us into a peaceful solution with our neighbors and not a continuous perpetual war against our neighbors. Am I optimistic? Not very. Again, we need every international help we can get. Really, every international help we can get. I can't emphasize enough how dire the situation here is and how close we are. And most people around me will say we already passed the point of dictatorship. There is there are no checks and balances anymore.
Do you think, or do you know, that some hostage families are scared to speak out and be vocal like you have been?
Of course, many, and they speak openly about their fear of speaking. It's look, this the thing, what I'm going to tell you right now was very strong in the first month, and it's not as strong lately. But for the first month, the many family members um, were told in many cases that it's better for the families to be quiet because when a list will be formed, it's better for the families to be quiet. Okay, a mafiosi kind of way. You
Yeah.
better be quiet. There are, you know, we are taking care of your interest soon, so you better be quiet. And it made a lot of families. I know 3 people who were more than willing, dying to get to the streets with us, and were instructed by other family members in their family to be quiet because the fear of if I would go and criticize the government, then my hostage, my loved one, will maybe get a different treatment, and this fear is very, very, very hard to overcome.
Was we're going with this, but what would you say with the last part, which we'll end with, is one last thing we should like to say to the American people? No pressure.
My fellow Americans, I'm not an American in any way. My friends, my American friends, please, please help us end this war. The way to end the hostage situation and the bloodshed on both sides, and of course the complete devastation on Gaza, is stop this fucking war. The sooner, the better. Start talking and stop firing at one another. And I know that America can do immensely in stopping the war by not supplying Israel with armament, with bombs, with offensive munitions. Please talk to your representative. Put as much pressure as you can for this bullshit war to end, because it's only driving us further, further away from solution, and we need a solution for this region because the situation is for the past year is catastrophic, and it will continue and to get worse every month. Now they're talking about the war in the north of Israel. Many casualties daily, and for what? For what? Just today, four IDF soldiers got killed from an explosion. I'm not really sure about the details. For what? What for? For what purpose?
Yeah.
Help us stop this war, my American friends. There won't be any Israel if this war won't stop and the hostages won't return. There won't be any Israel. There'll be complete mayhem here, and And I just want to say one more thing, and this is not very politically correct to talk about, but it's very important, I think, to understand that even if Israel is a failed state and it's going down, Israel has a lot of weapons, some of them non-conventional. There can't be mayhem here. The world can't afford it. Okay? And this is an issue which nobody talks about. But if Israel is in internal chaos and turmoil, the whole region is a danger. And, you know, this is a danger to the world. It's not, if you, what I'm trying to say is, if you won't help us, all hell could break loose, not only in the Middle East. Okay, I think this is that important. Okay,
Thank you, Zahiro. Thank you. And thank you
thank
to
you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you to everyone listening. And I hope you guys listen to Zahiro's words closely and what he needs and what the hostages' families need. And thank you.